This is a very, very special presentation for us in a lot of ways. It's a different kind of presentation than we normally do, with a concert included. But it's also special because these are dear friends of campus ministry and mine personally. Jillian and Nate were students here at IPFW and a long time ago, and were involved with campus ministry at one point, and now they're traveling all over the United States, maybe the world. Are you international too? Good. The band is called the Bergamot. This is International Peace Day, and so we invited them to come and help us celebrate that and share stories of their travels and some great music. So without any further delay, I'll just say enjoy.
We are the Bergamot, and we're so happy to be with you today on International Peace Day. It is a celebration and a reminder to all of us that peace is something that is attainable in every moment, and it is a choice. And we're going to start out this conversation. We'd like to think of this as a conversation with everybody, with a song called Made for This Mistake. And we'll explain a little bit more about it after this piece.
Wake up, we better run as fast as we can, 'cause giving up, it was never quite in the plan. Even as the tears fall down your face, I know we were made for this mistake. We're gonna give it the best that we can, and don't be scared if it all doesn't go as planned. Even as the tears start to fall like rain, you and I have no one left to blame, 'cause you and I will never let love grow old. 'Cause you and I know if it's true love, you never let go. 'Cause you and I will never let our love grow old. 'Cause you and I know if it's true love, you never let go. It's true love, you never let go. Sleep well and dream of the story someday we will tell. 'Cause love isn't always a walk in the park. We have to hold on to love even when it's gone. 'Cause you and I will never let love go on. True love, you never let go.
you. Well, thank you so much. So we are the Bergamots, and in the year 2016, we traveled to all 50 states throughout the country, 50,000 miles, and we got a chance to play music in every state. And the reason that we did this is because we were on something called the Unity Collective, and the Unity Collective was this idea that was born basically from what I would consider nothing. Into something that grew into something that became kind of an art piece and a symbolism of both peace, hope, unity, collectivity, collaboration, all these things in one. And that was kind of the beginning of what became known as the Unity Collective. So kind of give some preface and some story, and I think that one of the interesting things is that we try to speak from experience. I think that our story is not unique because of who we are distinctively, because, you know, growing up in northern Indiana as we did, having good lives, you know, what could we possibly know about unity? But I think that the thing that we bring special to the table is our experience over the last, 10 years of being musicians, working very hard to make a living at that, being musicians, and also trying to take our message and combine a message of music, opportunity, growth, and tie that together with a greater social cause, something bigger than us, and that was the Unity Collective. So what we did was we came up with the idea that we would have people sign our car, and we started with a car that was basically, we were gonna sell it on Craigslist for about $800. And they were like, you know, this car's basically worthless. But we kind of felt like it wasn't worthless. And so why didn't we feel it was worthless? What about it?
So the magic of the Unity Collective lies within the connectivity from the music and this special car. So at the time, our car was technically a beater. It had 265,000 miles on it. And it was on the fritz of dying at different points. So we decided, after someone offered us $800 to buy the car, we were like, no, it doesn't feel right to sell it yet. We don't know why. And then a month later, his grandfather passed away, so we had to drive all the way back to South Bend, Indiana, our hometown, from Brooklyn, New York, where we live now. And on that way, we had a lot of time to talk. And we're like, I don't know why it doesn't feel right to give up the car yet. And the day before the funeral, we were sitting in the car, and Nathaniel looked at me, and he's like, I have this crazy idea. And he's like, it just kind of came to me. And I'm like, what is it? And he was like, what we should do is we shouldn't sell the car. We should take this car, and we should have everyone sign it with their message of unity. And I was like, whoa. That's crazy. I'm so in. This is insane. This is like a crazy idea. And then we kept talking. We said, well, what if we took it to all 50 states? Because it was 2016, and we could sense as artists and as people that it was going to be a very difficult year politically. And so we wanted to represent through our music community and collaboration and peace, and we thought, wow, we could take this car to all 50 states. It's on the fritz anyway, which didn't necessarily make a ton of sense to take it everywhere, but we decided to do it because we felt very, very deeply called and inspired to create unity. And actually, we were really in search of unity. What does unity look like in America in 2016? Is this possible? Is unity possible amidst Democrats and Republicans and everyone in between and every nationality? So we hit the road.
And I think one of the interesting things about the Unity Collective as well is that basically this car, it was this idea that there might be something tucked away if we just shifted our perspective. So you look at this car, you look on Craigslist when it was listed, and you just see basically this used car that's could be thrown away into a junk pile, or basically stripped for materials is what they would probably do to a car of that. 260,000 miles, I think, was what it had at the time. And so, but we thought, hey, what if we change the perspective on this thing and we create it into something that actually symbolizes people working together for something to actually, what we called almost upvalue the car. So what if we took something and we had people work collaboratively to make something of basically valueless and create something of value through human interaction, through art, through connection, and those things. And so another little side story, if you don't, to go back even a little further, because I didn't even realize we didn't even mention, we were both IPFW graduates. I graduated IPFW in 2009 fall, and you graduated when?
Spring of 2010 from IPFW, communications major, so any comm people out there represent.
Yeah. So one of the things that we'll jump into is, so we want to also give you kind of ideas about how we did what we did, and then at the end of this whole journey of our story, we'll give you kind of what I think is the most tangible way of taking our story with you today. But also I want to be able to inspire you to think about ways that you could maybe pursue your own path using things that are of uncertain nature. Because obviously going an uncharted path in life is kind of is a scary thing, but at the same time there are a lot of tools out there that we can use to create things. In our case, we were able to use Kickstarter. Right when we came up with the idea of the Unity Collective, we thought, oh, this would be so great, and we thought, oh, like maybe we should be really responsible and reach out to sponsors and do things like that, you're like, oh, I have a great idea, we should go and maybe have somebody help us to fund this because it's going to be really expensive and we don't know what's going to happen to the car, and we're committed to taking it to all 50 states and we want to auction at the end. And so we were like, well, there's obviously a lot of uncertainty around that, so maybe we should go to Kickstarter. Because we reached out to corporate people and we also reached out to Kickstarter, and Kickstarter was all empowered by us. It was 100% powered by us and our fans and people that we connected with. And we just put it out to our fans, said, hey, this is a great thing that we want to do. We're musicians. You've heard us as the Bergamot. You get a chance to hear us today playing, and we're kind of going to be supplementing these stories with the songs that were written. But we kind of reached out to everybody, and they just kind of said, yes, we want to see this happen. We reached out really hard. We worked day and night connecting with people, telling them about the story, about the Unity Collective, and then we felt this need to go. This was 2015 fall, and we really felt like, hey, there's a lot coming down the pipelines because we're musicians. We're working day and night, connecting with people, staying up late, meeting people, shaking hands, kissing babies, the whole deal. It's like we're constantly on this evolving life.
Are we musicians or are we politicians?
I mean, we're musicians, but hey, I think you should, maybe we should forget politicians and trust musicians, maybe. So anyways, so we're out there and we're working day and night and we're connecting with people. We could feel that there was something churning in our country. There was just some change coming. And so we felt we need to go right now. We need to go and we need to create the Unity Collective. We can't wait for corporate sponsors and 6 months of this and 7 months of this and 8 months of approvals. We were like, we just need to go to our fans and make it happen. And actually, one of the fascinating things was that we sent to Volvo this idea that, hey, we're the Unity Collective, we don't have really much money, we're living in New York City, living our dream, trying to make this happen. We'd love to get your thoughts or maybe even a free oil change out on the road somewhere. And they just wrote us back and they were like, absolutely not. We are a white collar company. We don't deal with your type, basically. So I thought that was a really fascinating way of going about it because, we're trying to bring people together. But at the same time, there are a lot of headwinds, and we're not here to tell you that, oh, we went on the Unity Collective, and it was so great and so easy, and we didn't sleep in the car, and there weren't times where we thought we were going to die. We're here to try and tell you the real story of what happened.
And before we go into this next song, one of the things that was very important that we learned from the Unity Collective is we live in a world of great and beautiful diversity, and it is in our diversity that we are beautiful and that we have gifts to offer. But in order to get to that point, we have to have an open heart and a sense of vulnerability with each other, to listen and to be present and to connect, because without vulnerability, it's impossible to hear someone else's story without judging them. And vulnerability starts within, and that's going to bring us into this next song we're going to do for all of you.
Yeah, so this song is called Broken Corners, and it's this idea that I think that in life we have this dream that everything fits together like a game of what's the Tetris, that life is always it's about these hard edges, and everything has to fit together perfectly. If it doesn't, just throw it away or get a new one or whatever you have to do, just move on. And so I don't believe in that concept. I believe that actually that through broken corners, by actually rounding our corners, that we can actually fit together better as people in our relationships, in love, in life. And so this idea of broken corners is that, sometimes you feel like you are being broken, physically broken down, but I actually believe that somehow maybe you're not being broken, rather you're just being softened. And through that softening, you're actually discovering more about yourself, more about your relationship, more about love. And so this idea of broken corners was written as we moved to New York City, and we were just being pounded down. And they compared moving to New York City as being jumping onto a Bronco. Either you jump on and you grab the leash and you're good to go, or you just get thrown off, kicked in the dirt. You either
don't get up or you get back up on it.
Right,
And it was a constant battle of getting thrown off it and getting back up on this.
There was literally a moment where a car drove through a puddle and it splashed into my mouth, and I was like, this is that moment, you know, in New York City where you just got to hang in there and see the good, and see the good that also moving to that city did for us. It did break us down, and so this song was written out of this idea that breaking down can maybe lead to a greater self-realization, and through these broken corners we furthered our love, and we hope you enjoyed it. It's called Broken Corner.
Touched your face with my hands. The feels you know of growing old, letting go of the unknown, we're taking down every wall, holding on to what we call a home with you. I'll make it through, not true and true, I wanna be with you now. As we're walking down the street, these broken corners of you and me. But in this world, love is free. But you've gotta, oh, you've gotta believe. In the city, the buildings, they tower above us, where birds fly above the street dust. I'm feeling small 10th Avenue and tumble over the east where I wanna go, in the shadows of bridges, and let go on a bench into the night. What we see, Manhattan rising from the sea, underneath the sound, cosmic bound. Let's make a move and get out of town. We'll be home late, but I can't wait to hold your hands and be alone with you. Oh, as we're walking down the street, these broken corners of you and me. But in this world, love is free. But you've got, these broken corners of you
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So the first thing we had to do with the Unity Collective, the first memory that I actually have that's like definitively will always stick in my mind was buying Sharpies. That was like one of the first things that we realized we had to do. So we did the Kickstarter, and it ran for about 20 or 30 days, and we were able to raise about $18,000, which sounds like a lot of money, and it definitely is a lot of money to get started and to do some of the things we needed, like buying a camera and getting some of the basic needs that we need because we were going to make a documentary out on the road. But we made our way in New York City to buy some Sharpies, and we collected these Sharpies. And then we drove to our first show. And what was the first show like, Jay? What do you think? What were people in New York City saying about it?
Well, the idea of signing someone's car at first, when you think about it, is like really odd, because not many people signed a vehicle with their message of unity and peace. And I think even the opening act of that night, we performed our show, and after every show we did 200 dates. After every date we had thousands and thousands and thousands of people sign the Unity car. And the act of opening ourselves up and our car was an act of vulnerability, which allowed people to really open up and feel like they could talk to us and we could communicate. And the whole time the concept was to foster a conversation about, we'd ask people, what is unity to you? And how do you think we can build unity within our world today? Because the premise of unity behind it, it's fostering peace, it's fostering community, it's fostering reaching out to people that don't look like us and being open to building relationships with them and hearing their story. And so I think that first night it was kind of shocking, I think even for us, just to be like, and really exciting to sign a car. Because it was of what was to come, and we had no idea. We were jumping into this with complete uncertainty. It was one of those things where we just were going. We were setting up dates as we went, which is not how you usually do it. You have months and months of preparation. And it was just really powerful to see how many people were joining the peaceful movement that we were doing and how many people really wanted it. And we'd roll up next to stoplights in different cities. People would be like, roll down your window. What is this? I've never seen anything like this. One lady, we were in California, she just rolled down her window. She's like, I needed these messages of positivity today. I was having a terrible day. And on the side of my panel of the car, in big gold letters, it said, I get by with a little help from my friends. And the premise of this entire movement was we really were able to, we slept on people's couches. We sometimes slept in the car, but that was luckily rare. People were feeding us. Strangers were coming up to us being like, if you need anything. People we were fixing a light bulb in the back of the car, and someone just came up and just gave us $20. They're like, hey, this is really cool. I don't know what exactly it is, but it makes me feel really happy. We want to support it. And then you have all these conversations with everyone of all walks of life, and that connectivity gave us so much meaning and purpose. And as human beings, one of the big things that I'm a huge advocate for is connectivity with people. And today we live in a world with iPhones and Netflix and all these temptations to bury ourselves and to isolate. But the thing is, the more we isolate, the more we suffer. And I've seen it from depression rates going up to people losing purpose and meaning in their lives. And I've found that through connectivity, we're able to rise and have a meaningful life.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you guys was, so signing a car, what do you think? What do you think, like symbolically, what do you think that even could mean? What do you think potentially signing a car, where does that take you in your head, I guess? What do you think? Does anybody have any ideas about what that would, like, what does that mean to you? Like, obviously signing a car means something, but what does it mean about, like, you know, we're taught, maybe I'll give you, if I'm not getting it. Anybody just, I don't want to prod anymore. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful, that is definitely, and that's part of one of the major things that we thought was a huge symbol of what we were doing, is that it's moving. It's constantly moving. You're counting it while you're moving, potentially forwards. You know, and so people are seeing this in a passing sense. What else does it make you think of when you sign a car? Because what do you think about when you buy your first car? You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want it to get a dent, right? So what does that make you think about? Anybody else? Any
so
other?
what you're digging for, the act of signing the car.
Yep.
Like we're taught in our society to stand in a line, to do these things, almost a homogenization, perhaps.
Yeah, and so what I think one of the things that I think about is like, so a car is kind of we've been bred to kind of think that like, oh, like you shouldn't do this to this thing because its value is associated with the ability of it to drive and other things like that. And so one of the things that the Unity Collective did, in addition to it being, I'm going to kind of tell a little bit of a story about what you were just saying and us being in motion. So we created something that I think people idealize as being like, oh, you know, a car is only good if it looks good, right? So like I only look good if I drive in a car that looks good. But what we've always joked about is we've created the Maserati of like this car that's valued not because it's this symbol for people. It's not a social symbol. It's not a status quo symbol. It is a social symbol. It's not a status quo. So when people see it, they're moved by emotion, just like you would if you saw something beautiful, but not in the sense that, wow, this person driving this car is really wealthy, but rather people would drive up next to us, and this is what we would say. There was 3 parts to encountering the Unity Collective on the road, you know, when we're driving, and one was identifying. So traditionally it would be me driving, Jillian, and then we would, you know, we're not like big speeders in this car. It's not like a power mobile. So we're always in the right lane, and then people would always come up in the left lane, and there would be identification. It would be like, oh, like, whoa, this car is not normal. This is not something that's just like a normal car driving down the highway. Then so that was step 1. Step 2 was recognition. So it was like, oh, okay, it's not a normal car, but it has writing on it, and it's human writing. It's not like a fabricated, you know, like synthesized writing. It's not like printed on the car. So there was this recognition. Then there was like this moment of like, oh, and they're positive messages. So you could tell like the person next to you, this happened like countless times on the road. You know, people pull up, they look at it, identify, then they recognize. And then what they do is they engage. And this was the most exciting thing that I told Jillian, was being out on the road. You see these people and they go through these 3 steps. It's like, okay, they're looking at it. Oh my gosh, they finally get the point of it. They're kind of turned and they're like, okay, this is a really cool idea. Then you see them like turn, usually to the person driving or somebody in the car, and start like talking, and you could just tell that like they were like trying to explain what was going on with the car, because a lot of times people would just drive up and, you know, they'd see it and it was like, oh, you know, what is this car? And then there was engagement. So the 3rd step was engagement. And I think the engagement aspect of it was a really important part, because we took what I call the personal bubble. So in New York City, you'd be lucky on the subway to get just enough room for your elbows not to touch somebody. But in, you know, a lot of other places in the country, you get to drive in a car, which is like your personal bubble. It's kind of like your sacred space where, you know, you get to listen to your music. You get to, after a long day at classes, you can jump in your car and turn on your radio and just like, I get to be all by myself. And that time is really good and valuable. But I think that what we were able to do with the Unity Collective, people would come up, they'd see it, they'd be engaged, and all of a sudden, this idea that was on the car, this concept, had now gone from a concept on a car to a conversation in a car right next to us. And I think that transformation, that process, we went on a lot of journeys in the Unity Collective. We tried to have many people sign it, celebrities, everybody. I mean, we just put everything out there. But honestly, when it comes down to what the Unity Collective, where it connected most with people and where we feel like we had the most growth for both us and for other people, was in those moments of passing. People would come up, they'd have that moment, and boom, they're off. You know, they're going on to their next journey. Everyone's going somewhere, you know. It's just, there's not much time anymore to just sit down and hear stories anymore, because you've got your cell phone buzzing, you've got your Netflix going, you've got your Facebook, whatever that thing does, you know. So it's like, I've never had a Facebook in my entire life, so I have to throw that out there. But anyways, so the thing is that those little conversations that were being taken from place to place were just, we don't know where they went, but we'll share a story of where we think this was a more visceral moment, and this happened outside of Las Vegas on our way to Phoenix, Arizona. We were stopped at a rest stop, and I'll let Jillian kind of paint the picture of how we kind of walked into this moment and how we think that moment transcended the immediate and went into the future, and how did it all start?
So one of the important things about fostering unity and peace is having a way to connect with people. So of course the Unity car was that bridge for people to be able to talk to us and us to people. So we pulled up to this overview, because one of the things we did on the tour is we would get on top of the car roof and we would take pictures of us like with the guitar in all the different states to document the journey. And we'd post it out to all of our tribe members and fans, and it was really fun in that sense. But so we were looking at this overlook to take a picture, and we just pulled in and we're kind of assessing the situation. And we got out of the car, and this gentleman who was driving a really massive truck had pulled over right next to us, and he got out of the car and was maybe stretching a little bit, and he looks at us, and he had a really good Southern accent, and he was just like, hey, what's the deal with the car? You know, like it's this curiosity. Thank you. He's like, hey, what's the deal with the car? And we're like, oh, it's the Unity car. We're going to all 50 states. Everyone's signing with their message of peace, unity, and radical inclusivity. And we're really starting a conversation here, and we're on state 31. And he's like, oh, huh. And we're like, okay. Well, you're more than welcome to sign it. Everyone's invited to sign it. And he was like, well, let me think about it. So he's kind of thinking about it. He's talking to him. And at this point, I had grabbed the camera because I was mostly the person behind the camera documenting the entire journey because we're making a documentary. And so I grabbed the camera and I started fiddling around with that. And he's talking to him a little bit, and he's saying, oh, I'm from Texas. I'm trying to get my rig all the way to California. And they were talking, and he was telling him a little bit more about what we were doing. And at the same time, he was like, oh, he was saying, all right, I'll sign it. So he's like, where do I sign, or how do I do this? And we gave him the Sharpie, and he's starting to sign the car. At the same moment, a family from China, a daughter and her parents, they walked up, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
There's one thing I want to preface. This was also during the part of the campaign where there was a lot of, this was a time in our culture where there was a lot of tension between the Chinese culture and the American culture. It was kind of at that time in 2016. So that kind of set a little bit of a atmosphere.
Tone, yeah. So this family came up, and the daughter, you could tell the parents didn't speak any English, and the daughter spoke very broken English, but I could understand her, and I was talking to her and connecting a little bit. She's like, oh, what is this? This is very cool. I don't speak good English. And I said, oh, no worries. I said, this is the Unity car. People are signing it with the message of unity for all people. We'd love for you to sign it. And she said, I don't know how to really spell like that well in English. And I said, don't worry. You can write in whatever language you want. It's all cultures. Everyone has signed it in their language. And she said, oh, okay. So the gentleman just finished writing it, and as she was kind of crossing him to sign the car, he said, well, Chinese food's really good. Your culture has really good Chinese food. And we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where this is going to go. This is a little uncomfortable for us. We're trying to figure out where to take this direction. So then he's talking to him, and we're trying to make sure everything just stays very calm. And the girl writes in Chinese a message, and the gentleman's kind of watching her sign it. And her family's really excited and oh, this is so cool, and they're taking pictures. And then we noticed that she had backed away and gave me the Sharpie, and I said, what did you write? And at this moment, you could tell that the Texas man was really intrigued. What did you write? And she wrote, good luck and safe travels. And at that moment, his face went from kind of smugness to complete just dropped. He was just oh my gosh. And he was like, that's exactly what I wrote on the car. The exact same thing. And there was just this kind of quiet pause between all of us being wow, it's easy to judge people who don't look like us. It's easy to write them off as, oh, it's just this, or we've heard a little bit of this, and we're just going to say, you know, we're not going to really engage with them because they're different. But in that moment, he then looked at him and he said, wow, it's really cool what you guys are doing. You don't see people doing this much anymore. And he's like, wow, this is really neat. And then it was kind of this like diverge. Everyone kind of went away, and that was one of a very powerful moments for us on the tour, because having two cultures kind of collide, people who would never have met or talked, had the capability to really, in a quick second, understand that we really are all similar. We're all people. We all have a heart, and regardless of your skin color or your culture or your religion or your nationality or your ethnicity or background or socioeconomic class or gender, we all are humans, and we're here right now, and this is our Earth.
And so that was, you know, one of the things that we kind of took away from that is he kind of like got back in his big rig, and he's like, oh, I'm going back into Austin, or wherever he was. I think it was outside of Dallas, Texas. And you know, what the hope is in that moment is that he's going to go somewhere that night, somewhere in Texas maybe, or maybe somewhere along the way, and hang out with his group of people that maybe share his beliefs or whatever it may be. And he's going to be able to take that story with him. And maybe next time when one of his friends says something, maybe he'll think twice about it. Maybe it's like, oh, you know, maybe I had an experience and I want to tell you about it. Because it's really, the words that we share with you, I hope have meaning, and I hope that they impact you, but truly your experiences are the things that are going to change your life. And so with the Unity Collective, the idea was to create an experience for someone one by one, and let those experiences enrich their own lives, and let that be the light that will kind of maybe change their perspective. Because we're not here to tell you, hey, you know, we should all get along and hold hands and be peaceful, and life is really easy, and unity is the only thing that, it's like, that's not what we're here. I think the Unity Collective was just this nudge, in this case, for this guy to just remember that we're all humans, and that we're all connected in this humanity that we all are struggling to live, and that if we can somehow just remind each other in those most tense moments that you're not dealing with a robot. There's nobody out there who's just a robot. They are humans. And so we have to look at each other eye to eye as humans. And when that moment happens, it's like everything else just kind of settles. And you realize, wow, like that could have gotten really bad. It couldn't have gotten really ugly, and we all could have went into places in our brains that just protected us. And, you know, I could have been like the diffuser. Jillian, you get in the car. You know, it could have went really poorly. And we were prepared for that because we'd seen that out on the road as well. But in this case, it didn't. And it was like that moment, we were like, you know, I mean, obviously, even as ourselves, there's moments when we started this whole thing, we started by playing a song called Made for This Mistake. Because the truth is that sometimes you make these mistakes in life and you think, gosh, like, maybe the Unity Collective, maybe it was just too much. Like, maybe the idea of unity is like, oh, I just want to play music and I want to get back to my life. But you have these moments on the road of like this sheer vision where like, you know, maybe it's like you're wearing glasses and they're just cloudy all the time, and then you just have this moment where they get wiped clean and you're like, whoa, 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 I can see something really great here. We just have to keep going. And then it fills up with cloud again, and you just keep going. And so the Unity Collective was kind of one of these things where we thought, gosh, you know what? This is a journey. This is not something that we're going to play in sold-out shows, cross-country, you know, playing in arenas to sold-out people. We realized really quick that wasn't our journey. That wasn't our path. We weren't going to have celebrities join us and big-name people and politicians sign it and all this stuff. It was going to be more about who we are and who everybody who joined us is. Just people living everyday lives, doing everyday things, running to the grocery store, stopping to see a scenic overlook. We had a great experience where we stopped for gas, and there was this lady and she told us all about, you know, her experiences coming up from France, and now she lives in Nevada and she loves it, and just random things. She's like, and she signed the car with the, you know, and just getting really excited. It was all these moments of just like, oh, I gotta run in the bathroom at the gas station, and all of a sudden you come out and there's this lady just like waiting to tell you her story, and you're like, I'm here. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. And so being that kind of like shoulder to lean on kind of taught us that there was so much to be said. And so anyways, I want to get back to the music as well. And so we hope that the music kind of serves as a catalyst for the understanding of where we write music from, because it's a big part of who we are, and it's a part of the Unity Collective inherently because we're musicians. And so when we were starting our travels, I started, for some reason, maybe it was just like the season of my life, I was drawn to the book Moby Dick. And I thought, you know, like this would be a great story to read because, you know, the journey of Captain Ahab in search of the great white whale and all these things. And I just felt like kind of like maybe we were on this mystic journey where we're lost at sea. And, you know, sometimes we just kind of felt completely abandoned, and yet we weren't abandoned because we were together, but we still felt kind of uncertain about a lot of things. And so we thought, you know, I want to write a song that kind of talks about elements of the ocean, because the ocean really resonated with us on this journey, because you do have this sense of journey and vastness in front of you, but also the reality of like the crashing waves and the, you know, the swells and, you know, storms that can come in. And so I wanted to write a song called Periscope, because I felt like we were out on this road journey, going out on the road, and we disappear for basically 6 months. And I think the biggest thing you learn when you go out on the road is that when you disappear for 6 months, you come back, like everybody's still, you know, doing a lot of the same things. You've been gone, so you've just missed like a 6-month window. So now you just have to kind of pick up the pieces and fit it all back together and make sense of what's in front of you, whether it be with family, relationships, love. Thank goodness we get to travel together, so we're not like coming home after 6 months and seeing each other and having to rework out those details. But so I really felt like I was being called to write a song called Periscope, because a periscope is kind of I'm sure many of you probably know, it's a piece of, it's a contraption that's used to see outside the water when you're underneath the water. And so we kind of felt like, this is something that's resonating with me as far as this idea that we're underneath water and we're looking around, and somehow life sometimes seems like a pinhole and you can only see so much as you're traveling along and you're calling your parents or you're calling, you know, and we were having people get sick. We had one of your great uncles who's a good supporter of us pass away when we were on the road. And so I wanted to write a song about it called Periscope. And I'm sure, you know, maybe you may not be in a relationship, but maybe you've stayed up late one night studying and you try to go to sleep and you wake up and you're just like thinking about it. And so that's kind of what the whole concept of Periscope is written about. It's about trying to maintain love and relationships as life's kind of passing you by, and you're only seeing a little, feel like you're seeing a little part of it at least. Seeing a lot of the world, but missing maybe your family, or, you know, and coming from Indiana and coming from big families is a big part of our lives. So it's a song we call Periscope, and we hope you enjoy it.
Through a periscope I see our lives. In my eyes I know we'll be alright, we'll be alright. 'Cause I've been waiting on you all my life, all my life. I've been frustrated and blue. I never knew how much I love you, how much I loved you. The 3 words I held on to: I love you, please see me through. When the world is getting me down, and when the summer sun beams down on us, broken up with rust, with all our trust, we'll let go, we'll let go. knew how much I love you, how much I loved you.
Thank you so kindly. We have a few songs left, and one of the additional things that I wanted to say about the collective, the Unity Collective, is these things were done by musicians. We're everyday people, just like you, and it started with a very small idea, and from that idea, tens of thousands of people joined the collective through the Unity car and through spreading the word and through supporting what we were doing on the road, whether it be through positive thoughts or sending us messages or monetarily helping us on the road make this happen. And at the end of the journey, we auctioned the car off and donated all of the money to help keep a brand new music therapist on at a hospital I was born in South Bend, Indiana. And it's really powerful to see everyday people doing small acts of kindness. And one of the greatest takeaways, I think, for me personally is it was a very difficult journey. There were many nights where I remember just like crying in my pillow, being like, what are we doing with our lives? This is a lot more difficult than I thought. Figuring out what unity truly is. It's such a grand concept, but at the end of the day, for me, what I realized is through all the tears, through all of the music, through all of the joys, and through all the sorrows of the collective and the 50-state tour, it really comes down to everyday people being kind, smiling at someone you don't know, opening up a door. One of the coolest things I saw is people had Post-it notes and a Sharpie, and they were leaving positive messages in like bathroom stalls or on walls in different places. It's these small, simple acts of creativity, of connection, of vulnerability that allow us to really grow into a mindset of peace, a mindset of unity, a mindset of connectivity, of getting outside of ourselves, working on our own wellness, because unity starts with the letter U. And so it starts with each of us as individuals working on ourselves and looking in the mirror, and instead of tearing ourselves down, building ourselves up every morning. As difficult as it is, it's those small, simple, tangible acts that really cultivate real action, real peace, and real unity in our world, and a world that needs it so desperately right now.
And I think that returning back to the principles of what the Unity Collective was, for us it was music, community, and collaboration. And so the reason that we kind of set those pillars out as like kind of our guiding principles for the whole thing was music, obviously, because it's the most important thing that we do. And actually the Unity Collective was able to help us to illustrate in our own heads, really. You know, there's a lot to be done here. There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said by many people. I mean, the car itself became this like almost diary of people's ideas at the moment. So there was music was a huge part of that. And so music was our #1 thing in our guiding light. And we always felt like, hey, if music is the thing that we can bring to the table that can just at least have people listen for a minute, if people are going to be listening, you know, I mean, my message or thing in life is like, I don't want to tell you about how you should go to the club and get drunk and do these things. I mean, that's not really my message. I'm sure you can find other artists who would be. I was like, I'm going to use that message for something maybe positive, maybe something that could lift people up and inspire them. And, you know, that's not the cool thing to do. And there's a lot of the music industry that wouldn't believe that her and I could do what we're doing. And so we fight that daily battle saying, hey, you know what? That's why we do what we're doing independently. That's why we went to Kickstarter. That's why we got rejected in the face by corporate America, is because we were out here doing it saying, hey, you know what? There's a path for us to do it, but it's not going to be a path that somebody made for us. It's going to be a path that we're going to make for ourselves. And so music, we're still fighting that every day. I mean, people still believe, oh, a couple on the road. You know, I've seen so many couples playing music. And, you know, I mean, I hope that, yeah, we maybe aspire to be like that, but at the same time, we hope that our music presents something that's a little bit different, a little different take, both musically and also lyrically, and inspiring and connecting. Community, because we really believe that bringing people together is a great cause, and when you're all in a room together listening to music, you know, you get this, people forget that music is a great way to just forget about like sides and all the other things. You can just be present for a little while and hear that song and go somewhere in your head for just even a second. And so we started, and so we felt like community was already in our nature as musicians to bring people together, so why not bring it together in our car? And collaboration. I mean, one of the things that we thought was, in our day and age, there's nothing, I mean, sitting here today, I hope that we're able to inspire, but I know that interactivity is probably the most predominant form of entertainment. People want to be interactive. They don't want to be sit and talk to. They want to actually be a part of it. And so that was part of the concept as well, was we wanted people to be involved, to look at this and say, hey, this is something that I actually am going to have a stake in. Like, I actually, when I sign this car and it goes on its journey, like, I actually am a part of that. And so we want people to feel the sense of collaboration. We're not here to tell you, like, here's what we did, and, you know, you should do the same. And we're going to bring it here into the end. We've got one more song for you, and I want to kind of bring it in with a story. And so those were our three things: community, music, community, and collaboration. And this is kind of one of the final pieces. We were in Salt Lake City, and we just pulled up, and we didn't know anybody in Salt Lake City, and we're like, hey, you know, how are we going to do this? And we're like, I don't really know. We just pulled up to get a coffee or something, and out walks this guy. We open the door. He's like running up with his two kids, and they're like looking at the car, because the kids were like super fascinated. Kids were just like in awe of this car. Like, how is this possible? Which is also a whole nother thing that we could talk about, just creating that, like, maybe they'll dream up something that's outside the realm of what they see right now, and that'll be the future for them. And so they would run up to the car, and so this guy's like, hey, can they sign your car? And we're like, yeah, of course they can. It's called the Unity Collective. And we told them the whole story, and they get out their Sharpies, and they're signing the car, and they're laughing and crawling in and out and having a fun time and just having a moment. And the dad kind of pulls me aside, like, you know, and he's just talking to me about, like, his life. And all of a sudden I realize that, you know, here we are, we're standing in the middle of Salt Lake City. 5 minutes ago, we were talking about how we had no idea who lives here or what people do in Salt Lake City or how we're going to connect with them. And here's me and this guy, just like a guy that could be all across the country, talking about life. And he's like, yeah, I just got a divorce, and, you know, we've had this really rough go of it, and I've got the kids. I'm going to take them to the lake this week, but it's been really stressful because I'm working, you know, this job and trying to make all the money to pay for it all. And I was like, wow, you know, we really had a great moment, and we connected, and his kids got a chance to sign the car, and they were happy. And I just thought to myself, we could have easily walked into this place in Salt Lake City, gotten a coffee, stood next to each other, never said anything to each other. And he's going through this moment where he wants to just reach out, and just like, maybe in that moment, now he's going to have a good time with the kids, because instead of, he can't sit the kids down and explain that to him. He just wanted somebody who could understand him, and not in post it on Facebook way, but like connect in a real human way. He wanted to sit down and say to us, like, I got all this on my chest. I'm trying to take care of the kids. And I was just like, man, like, you know, I just tried to encourage him and be like, hey, you know, just continue to be strong, and we'll be thinking about you. And we'll, you know, if you want to stay with us in this journey and see where we go and see how your signatures and your kids' signatures travel along with us. And in this moment, we had this connection that, like, wow, you know, we could just pass each other easily. But what didn't allow us to do that was the Unity car. The Unity car was the symbol that broke down the barrier. And sometimes you need a car that was listed on Craigslist that's just a piece of junk by the world's standards to be able to become something that actually breaks down barriers between humanity. And it's this, like, transcendent thing that, like we said, the Maserati of communication, really. It's like, oh, this is just connection, and everything was happening in this car. And so we've got one last little thing. I'm going to tell a little story, and I'm going to have Jillian kind of wrap it up a little bit. We want to take it to, so you're leaving this room today. What can you do? What can you do, right? Are you going to go on a 50-state journey? Maybe. Maybe that's your thing. Are you going to have people sign your white tennis shoes? Maybe that's your thing. I don't know. Maybe we've inspired you to do such thing. But maybe there's something more simple and practical. So one of the things that we learned in the Unity Collective, and bringing it into our final thoughts about the whole thing, was that no matter where you go in life today, you could be in Portland, Oregon, you could be in South Bend, Indiana, you could be in Fort Wayne, you could be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. the internet has connected us in a way that's unbelievable and unreal in some ways, because we go from community to community, and literally it's like we're on repeat. We're having the same conversations, different people, different backgrounds, different, religions, but we're all talking about the same things, using the same facts or fake facts or whatever is out there, and quoting the same things and looking at each other the same way. And we realize that there's this interconnectivity that's so close to us no matter where you go in the country. So we came up with this concept of 1 mile. So we're like, really all of the miles that we did, what was the most important mile? And what we realized was that no matter where you are in the country, if you're solving problems in Fort Wayne, Indiana, here at IPFW, and you're creating solutions for problems that exist, that actually is transcendent to every community, because we are so much closer than we think. Problems that are being solved in Fort Wayne, Indiana can help New York City. Problems in Portland, Oregon can help Los Angeles. And so when you step outside of your door, what we encourage you to do is, if you can't see a problem within 1 mile of where you live, then maybe that's where we need to shift our perspective. And so the song 1 Mile was this ability to say, hey, let's look at a situation where 2 people could be falling in love in a Brooklyn cafe. And literally up the street, there could be somebody who's literally going to do their last shot of cocaine before they pass away, because life is just transient like that in the city. It's palpable. You could be in your room, and right next to you there could be somebody going through the worst time of their life, and you're all that separates you is a door or a small wall, and not even a good wall in most New York apartments. And so this concept was, if you can look and solve problems within one mile of your front door and look outside and see how you can help somebody outside there, then that's going to be something that will transcend everything. It will work in Alaska, it'll work in Hawaii, it'll work to every state that we've gone. And so we wrote this song called 1 Mile about bringing it all back and bringing it back to something that's tangible, something you can take with you. And what we hope is that the song 1 Mile can be that barrier that breaks down between you and your friend to have a conversation about trying to make the world a little bit better. Not all around you and not going on Facebook and posting about it, but literally taking the first step of rolling out your door and asking somebody if they need help. And so we hope that this song can be like the Unity car in the way that it provokes a thought from you that you can share going forward with you. And we'll play it here in just a second. I want to have Jillian take us out, but you guys have been really great. We want to thank Ben for having us.
Yes,
it's been
and
really
Campus
fun.
Ministry for having us here. We're so grateful, and so grateful for all of you for joining us on your lunch break on this Thursday, International Peace Day 2017. We're very, very grateful for each one of you. And right before we take out of this song, the last message that I would encourage everyone to be mindful of as we go back out in the world is connectivity. So we are hardwired for connection with each other. And I'm talking real human connection, like giving someone a real hug, or calling someone on the phone, or setting up a time where you can go on a walk. These things are very important because they give us purpose and they give us meaning, and they expand our experiences. And so just as we're leaving and getting ready to reassimilate, remembering that connection is at the heart of who we are as people. So the more that we can be mindful to be with each other and to set up potlucks and to go to concerts and to be present and have fun and really enjoy life, that's part of unifying the world. And going out and doing that, and also being vulnerable, because through vulnerability we have the opportunity to have really meaningful experiences. And thank you once again. We are the Bergamot. This last song is called 1 Mile, and we hope that it inspires you.
Last thing I want to say, if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. You can ask in front, or we can take a little Q&A. There's not too many people here, but if you want to shout out what you want, if it might be a good conversation, we'll do that at the end. And then if not, see us after, and we'd love to answer any questions you have. And then the final note that we have is we did start a Patreon campaign, which allows us to be more sustainable going forward and not have to go back to the corporate world to ask for help, because we want to try and limit that. And so you can join us, patreon.com/the Bergamot. We'll tell you more at the table or whatnot, but we'd love to have a little time for Q&A, and then we'd love to meet you personally. So this is a song called 1 Mile, and we hope you enjoy it.
Brooklyn, there are two people falling in love. Up the street there, about a mile away, there are two people shooting up. Now the world can seem so strange when you're only 1 mile away, but we must stand tall. Together we rise, apart we fall. And we left Seattle with some pictures and just a little spare change. And we got to Portland, and there were some crooks there who broke into our car and stole it away. Now the world can seem so strange when you're only 1 mile away, but we must stand tall. Together we rise, apart we fall. Fall asleep, my dear, with the winds of Santa Fe. I'll run my fingers through your hair as the curtains sway. And 1 mile down, they're pulling guns and raids on our brothers who don't look the same. Now the world can seem so strange when you're only 1 mile away, but we must stand tall. Together we rise, apart we different place, 1 mile away, 1 mile away. 'Cause the world's a different place, 1 mile away, 1 mile away. Different place, 1 mile away, 1 mile away. 'Cause the world's a different place, 1 mile away, 1 mile away. We must stand tall. Together we rise, apart we fall.
Thank you so much. We are the Bergamot, and we're so grateful to be with you on International Peace Day. If anyone has any questions, we are open to. It could be anything. It could be a very small question or complicated. Yes. She said, did we ever meet Ellen? That is
so we'll give you the backstory and the real story on what happened.
Yeah.
So we were in Phoenix, Arizona, on our way out to try and get her to sign it, and we got a phone call from the Ellen team, and we couldn't put this on Facebook or anything because it just
we were legally bound not to say anything from the team.
So they basically were like, oh, you know, they interviewed us for like 30 minutes, and they were like, this is amazing. We think this is so great. We're going to call you back tonight.
Or within a week.
We're still waiting. So that was part of our, I think that, and that actually, the funny thing is, I'll try to be really brief in this. So we went out to LA. Ellen didn't sign the car. We were really like bummed. We wrote this song when we were out in LA called Playa del Rey because we were on the ocean in the car, in the Unity car, windows down. It was raining in LA, which is like weird, never happens. Ocean, LAX. Wrote this song. We really love it. It's one of our favorite songs we've ever written. Sent it out to a producer in London that we were like, love. He picked it up and was like, I want to help you guys produce this song. That's turned into a snowball effect ever since. We're like, now
it's
we're
all
currently...
been secret.
It's all been super secret because we can't tell anybody. But so like that's been the process of like the Ellen thing was like this journey that we went on and we never met her because who knows? It's
well,
Hollywood.
hold on. We didn't technically meet her, but she did wave to me because I did get a private tour, which was really weird what happened. I got to go inside. I was gifted a ticket. I did win a $500 grill when I was inside and actually sold that to make the music video for PDR, Playa del Rey. So there's a lot of things, but she did wave to me on her way out.
But we
that
were
was the closest
told,
I got to Ellen.
We were told through communication channels, which is this is how the Ellen thing works. It's not like, because they turned it into basically, we just wanted to have her sign it, but it turned into like, oh, we're going to have you on the Ellen show, which is like, I mean, that's cool too, wasn't the goal, but, and then it ended up just not even having her sign it, which was a total disappointment, so it was like all Hollywood, and then it ended up being like, oh, she's not going to sign it, but they did let us know that we're on their radar, so I don't know what that means, but, so maybe there's an opportunity that she'll sign what we'll call Unity Collective 2.0, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess, so.
Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah, she said, what are our future goals? It's a great one. So after we finished the Unity Collective, we needed a break just to regroup as human beings. It lasted for about almost 9 months straight. And in that time, we were able to really refocus on writing new songs. So we have the new single, PDR, Playa del Rey, which drops in October. It drops in London, and it's going to drop in America as well. So we're really excited about that. And future goals, definitely we're going to be touring as much as possible. We've realized that our band is definitely a band for the people. We're here to connect. That's what our goal is. So festivals, touring, performing tons of dates. We're going over to Europe in May to tour over there for the second time. I
think actually we will do, I think the thing that we've talked about the most is Unity Collective 2.0 because there's a lot of things that we've learned that we'd like to do. I mean, obviously like a big white bus would be really cool. But we've also learned that we would have to be willing to put it out there, to really put it out there, like what it would cost to do it. Because, I mean, the amount of credit card debt that we incurred through the process of going through last year was really difficult. So we financed it all ourselves, which was completely fine because it was, you know, it's an investment in humanity, right? I mean, the things that we experienced, the stories, they all kind of like, it's just for the betterment of the world, and maybe, you know, we wish more people would use money towards that, but hey, we're doing what we can. And so with Unity Collective 2.0, we're thinking we want to put it out into the world. We want to kind of put out what we think it would look like and then see if that's something that could be supported by fans or people that we could work with that could help support it. But we wanted to kind of center ourselves after this whole journey and kind of figure out how can we take care of ourselves and also be able to take this further. And maybe that's part of our journey in learning. So there is that on the back burner, but we're kind of like...
And of course the documentary.
Yep, the documentary.
We're starting to edit the documentary from an entire year of documenting the journey of what it's like being an independent artist in pursuit of unity in 2016, which was one of the most politically charged and one of the most tearing years. So it's going to be we're really excited to start editing that. And we have 2 editors that we're going to be working with. So that should be released 2018, late spring. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We'd love
Thank
to.
you so much. We are the Bergamot. Thank you. Shine on.
Personnage dans mes tableaux, à me voir vivre en décroché. Mes idées folles devenaient lourdes.